folks. I'm here with Mike. Mike, tell me what we're where we are, what we're doing.
Okay, we are at Russell Lake. We're on the border of Georgia and South Carolina. This is one lake below Lake Hartwell, the location of the Bassmaster Classic. So we're right on the heels of the Classic, but guess what? We're fishing our own Classic this week. This is the Bassmaster Kayak Classic. I'm one of the participants via my win on the Upper Chesapeake Bay. This is the last day of practice. Today we can only practice till 2 o'clock, so it's a shortened practice day. Been out here 2 days already. You know, today the game plan is to find few more areas, maybe another pattern, kind of expand on what I figured out the last few days, try to make stuff a little bit bigger. I'm excited. You know, right now you look, it's cold. It's 35, 36 right now, but it's going to warm up to almost 70 today. And for the tournament, looks like it's going to be in the 70s. So one of the keys this week, you're going to see it as the weigh-in progresses. Largemouth or spots. Largemouth or spots. It's a big battle. Spots, there's a lot more of them. You have to weed through a lot of numbers to get the 17s, 18s, and 19s. Largemouth, there's a lot less, but usually they're a better grade fish. So it's going to be a big decision this week for anglers. So, man, loading up the yak. Got the Hobie, got the Lowrances, got the Torpedo on the back. Ready to put in another hard day of practice. Come on, let's go. There's one big creek over here that kind of fits the bill, but it's got standing timber in it, which I don't know. It's the only thing I don't love about it. But in the mornings, what happens is basically the herring will get in the backs of creeks and pockets, and they do that. It's crazy. They'll do that. It's totally a morning thing. You know, they're back there and they're feeding, they're biting, just in the mornings. And a lot of times, you know, that's what you want to do the first couple hours. So I already located one that I'll probably start each morning in. But like right now, I'm looking at the map, wondering, you know, do we look at some of that real quick? You know, it's definitely an option. There's a little creek here, and there's one right under the bridge. There's a small little creek, and those fish, you could actually, a lot of it you could see with your eyes. You don't even have to be fishing, right? You can see them with your eyes. So what I might do here before we start, we might just cover a little water here and just look in the backs of these two creeks real quick just to see, because it's still dark enough where if that's gone down, we'll see it with our eyes, you know? So this is one of those times that I'm telling you, you got to cover a lot of water. Like, for me to pedal into these two pockets real quick would be impossible. I mean, we would know instantly. Like, we would get here, just settling down for a minute, looking, listening. The birds occasionally alert you to it, but it's, I mean, honestly, mainly just you're looking with your eyes, you know, listening. That one area I found the first morning, I mean, it was insane. They were just blowing them out of the water everywhere. You could have threw a topwater. You really could have.
What's the biggest spot you've caught here in practice?
A 19.
Okay.
A 19. I've caught a lot. In the main size is you cut through 14 or 15 inches like it's water. They're everywhere. The 17s and 18s, they're the ones. They're hard to come by, but you can get them, and they're the ones I'm really looking for. A 19 or a 20 spot is a bonus. That's a big spot, you know. The other thing is, just real quick to let you know, is I'm learning about kayak tournament fishing because I made a mistake last year at a Lake Champlain kayak event. I practiced for the heaviest fish instead of the longest fish. I'm telling you, I would have won that tournament if it was weight. I caught all largemouth. Everybody in the top 5 was dominated by smallmouth because they're longer. They didn't weigh anything, but they were long. Same theory going on here this week. Spots they weigh 3 pounds, but if they're 18 or 19, it's a good fish. All right, let's go. They're not here. So one of the things I'm doing in practice this week is I'm power finesse fishing. I know that sounds strange, but I'm using light line, small baits, but also a real heavy weight. And what that's allowing me to do is cover a ton of water. I'm going to say it again, in practice, you got to cover a lot of water, but it's also allowing me to make the fish react. So, you know, this is a little Ned head I'm using here, but it's got a 3/8 ounce head on it, super heavy. And on light line, it falls like a rock. So, you know, rate of fall, ROF, has a lot to do with a reaction strike. So in this clear water, especially as the day gets up and it gets sunny, those fish, when they see something whizzing past their face, you know, they almost can't take it. So they have to eat it.
Spotted bass, 25 feet, real deep. Nothing really to learn there, except that you can drop one and catch it. Talk about how important equipment is in kayak fishing. I think it's all hand-to-hand combat, but there's a lot of technical equipment you could use in this sport too, and trolling motors, power poles, and of course electronics. There's a fish without good sonar you would have never caught, you know. There's another one. They're definitely not big ones, but there's a bunch right out here in like.
All right, this right here is my Torpedo throttle. This is my information center. Very important information on here. I've got my battery percent, what I have left in that battery. I have my speed in miles per hour. And then it also has a built-in GPS in here, and it's able to communicate the distance I traveled and the distance I have left based on that battery percentage. So this is all great information. We've covered a lot of water in practice. I'm constantly looking at this. This is a key part to how I practice and how I tournament fish.
So compare the kayak tournaments and what it is to prepare and compete to your regular tournaments. Like what's the same and what's different?
Yeah, there are similar elements and different things. I would say on the same side, you have, you know, the same elements, right? Where when you practice, you're looking for winning fish. You're using the same analytical skills in kayak tournaments and big tournaments. You're still worried about time management, you know, all that stuff, preparation, all that stuff's the same. But where kayak tournaments are different is in some of the specifics. So, and I'll just give you 3 or 4 of the big ones that really hit me. The one is like what we're doing right now, running and gunning. When I'm in a big boat tournament, I love to run and gun. I love to hit 50, 60 spots over 15 or 20 miles in a day. Kayak tournament fishing, it's impossible. Even with a trolling motor, even with my Torpedo on the back, I have to be more deliberate and more specific in my choices. You know, another one is, for sure, is the length factor, right? I told you earlier, I made this mistake already in kayak tournaments, which is the only thing that matters is the length. And I had to break that mentality of catching 4 and 5 pounders to catching 18 and 20 inches, no matter what they weigh. So that was a change of pace. The other thing is what you can carry. You know, you have to become a bit more of what I call a consolidated angler, and you have to be a bit more concise. And so in my big boat tournaments, I carry 30, 32 rods and probably 500 pounds of tackle. You just can't do it here. So you have to be a little more concise. So there's some differences. There's some similarities. I can tell you for me, I've fallen in love with it because I'm competitive, and being in a smaller vessel, smaller craft, feels very natural to me, and I like it a lot. I like being at the ground level with the fish. So The transformation was tricky, but I like it a lot.
I love that you just validated all of the kayak anglers that try to put 500 pounds of tackle in the kayak.
I know. I want to put more. I mean, I got 14 rods, and that's too many, you know. So you can see all that standing timber, but you can barely see it in there. This is where they would be if they were here. This is the kind of place they ambush. It's like the last point in the very back of the pocket, you know. So this was sort of a gamble, you know, but it's like, you know, you come back here and it's just, you've seen stripers before. Like that, you know.
So talk to me about what, understanding I'm not going to publish this until after the tournament, but what have you figured out so far in your days of pre-fishing?
You know what I figured out is this is a spotted bass fishery for sure, and these fish are in their pre-spawn mode. So because of that, I've eliminated almost all the bank. I'm not fishing the bank for the most part. I'm not fishing, you know, you normally think of bass fishing, think of going down the bank. I'm almost exclusively fishing off the bank. And these are fish that are staging to spawn. Water temperatures in the 50s, very conducive to a pre-spawn bite. So I'm trying to target schools of fish, groups of fish. So when you do that, you actually eliminate a lot, you know? I'm not going down the bank. I'm not running up a river. I'm not fishing laydowns. I'm concentrating offshore. And so I've already cut half of the lake down by doing that. So this is the morning deal. We ran a long ways to look at this one point. They're not schooling. We're going to run a long ways and go back the other way. Isn't that awesome? All that way for nothing. Actually, I'm going to throw an A-rig on the way out of here a little bit. It's funny, it's like these cold nights are keeping that water temperature in the 50s. It's wanting to get up in the afternoons, it's wanting to get way up there, but it's these cold nights keep holding it back, you know? There's a big one. That same pattern I was telling you about. Largemouth. First largemouth I've caught all week. How about that? That's a largemouth. I swear it's the first largemouth I caught all week. I swear. I promise.
What A-rig are you throwing?
This is a Shane's Baits. The thing I like about this A-rig is it's a little smaller A-rig. This is called the Mini Blades of Glory. It's a 5-wire, but when you put 16th ounce heads on it, honestly, it fishes a lot like a spinnerbait. I mean, it's really not that big. I've got Berkeley Power Bait Power Swimmer 2.8s on it, and you know, color is probably the least important thing, but if you notice, the bottom bait, the longest bait, the bottom wire, the longest wire always put a significantly different color, and normally it's like a white, and that's a key little thing to do with an A-rig. He hammered it. He Louise. Yeah, I mean, I said earlier, I'm not fishing the banks, and I'm really not, even on this spot, on these areas. And what I noticed on this particular lake is a lot of these, what I call them channel banks, really steep channel banks where the channel runs up to it. You can see them from a mile away because they all look like this. They all have this very bright red clay on them, and many of them have 40, 50, 60 foot of water just out from them. And these are definitely banks that fish, they'll roam up and down them. And so, you know, again, these are still pre-spawn fish I'm fishing for. They're just little different scenario. But deep, steep banks, access to the highway really quick, you know. They're not the kind you want. I hit a rig like that. You want the ones that stop your rod. Like that largemouth stopped it. The one day of practice this bite was really good. It also had wind, you know. It was low light and it had wind, and I think that.
What's your wind forecast for the tournament?
First day we got 10 to 15, which is pretty good wind. Second day was only 5 to 10. Southwest both days.
Yeah.
So warm wind.
So tell me about your win last summer, Upper Bay, that qualified you for competing in this championship.
Oh man, that was awesome. So, you know, a competitor, you always want to win, and kayak fishing, tournament fishing as a sport is still pretty new to me. This is only, I want to say, my 4th year doing it. So I've competed in a handful of events in those 3 or 4 years and have never been able to win one. And kayak tournament fishing is no different than big boat tournament fishing. You know, everything's got to fall into place, you know, and you can work hard and make the best decisions, but if everything doesn't go just right, you're not going to win. And that event last year for me was one of those events where it fell into place. It was a tough fishery on the upper Chesapeake Bay, and I think I only got six or seven keeper bites the whole day, and caught one in literally the last minute of the tournament. That was a good one, and you know, I won by just a little bit, and it felt good, man. I mean, the thing about it is, you know, it's not like it's giant money or any of that, but it was a win for me because I had worked so hard to win a kayak event. So it felt really good, and a side benefit of winning that event was it qualified me to fish the Kayak Bassmaster Classic, Kayak Classic here at the Bassmaster Classic. So it was a good opportunity, and you know, I'm here this week to not just, you know, I'm not just here to say hi, you know, and show my face. I'm actually here to win. So been working really hard in practice, and you know, I'm gonna try to win.
What kind of research do you do ahead of time? I mean, have you ever fished this body of water before? Is it just show up and start fishing and figure it out, or is it, what kind of pre-fishing research are you doing?
I do exactly the same for kayak tournaments as I do for big boat tournaments, and you could do a lot of just what I call groundwork, and basically do that through the internet. You can do it through the web. I look at old tournaments, old articles, old content, YouTube video, anything that sort of starts to point me in the right direction of what's going to happen. But here's the thing, at the end of the day, you got to get somewhere. I do that research, and I want to have that as sort of notes, but at the end of the day, when you get somewhere, you got to go fishing, and you got to let the fish tell you what to do. So, you know, I call that fish in the moment, and it's no different here this week for me. I had some really nice basic information. I've never fished here, and I tried to use that as a template to point me in the right direction. But at the end of the day, the fish tell you what you should do, you know. Saw me one on the graph there in about 16 feet of water. So drop back to him. See, this water's so clean that he's got it. Got him. Caught him off the graph. saw that one on the graph. It's not an exact science. When the water's clean like this, you can, yeah, that's what I thought. That one's got a line in them too. We're gonna help this one out. The second one I caught that off the graph. He's got a hook in him from a bait fisherman, big old Aberdeen or something. We'll at least cut it down to, look at all that line that I just got off of that poor fish. But saw that one on the graph, spotted bass, you know, nice beautiful fish. These kind of fish won't help at all in the tournament, but they are fun. But here's the thing, what I was saying is I saw that one on the graph, and the cleaner the water, the more you don't have to really be exact, you know? Like that one, I actually saw that one, and by the time I got to it, I missed dropping straight on them. So I know my transducers on this kayak is right under my butt. So that's where I want to drop. But when I see one and I'm a little slow on the drop, I can just pitch back there, back behind the boat. And, you know, that one I saw and pitched back there, and he came and got it. The clearer the water, the more you don't have to be exact on the drop. So they'll definitely come and get it, you know. That fish was in 16, 17 feet, you know, second spot of the day for us, but this is not the quality we need. And that's something I'm looking at. I'm being very conscious of looking at the size of the fish and the length of the fish. And
where do you think your bigger ones are going to be?
My hope is that everything I measure that I enter will be 17 or bigger, and I'm hoping to have a few 18s and maybe a 19. 20-inch spot is a hard spot to catch. I don't care where you're at. So 17, 18 inchers are definitely doable here. That's kind of my goal, you know.
So Mike, being that it's a 2-day tournament,
yeah,
and you got an idea of where you want to go. Are you going to the same place both days, or will you split time between two places?
It's a great question. I mean, the goal is to have enough spots that I can, rotate and let them rest. You know, so right now I feel like I have a morning spot where they're doing that herring thing, and then I feel like I have one really good Alabama rig bite bank, and then I have about 12 or 15 schools of fish located of the right quality. So that's a lot, you know. So, you know, in my mind, what I want to do is I want to try to hit all of them the first day, but not kill them. Like, make a rotation through it, catch a few, and leave it. So with
do you think you could shut down an area by just camping on it and expecting it to reload? And
100%. You know, listen, you catch one, a lot of times catching one shuts the school down, you know, or moves the school. I've watched it. I've caught one and I'm reeling the fish in and I grab them, and when I look down at my graph, there's 5 or 6 that are under the boat, and it's because they all followed that fish, you know. So you can move them, you can mess them up. If you lose one or break one off, a lot of times that's the kiss of death. So, you know, for the way I'm fishing for these spots, I got to have a lot of places. I honestly hope to find 1 or 2 today to add to that. I'd like to start out with about 15 schools in the tournament. That would feel good to me, you know. That's a little better one. They did go down for it. They didn't need it.
So Mike, you're obviously very good at using a bow mount trolling motor on a bass boat and positioning that way. Tell me about positioning in a kayak and how that's, you know, what are the important skills to develop there?
Yeah, boat positioning in a kayak is just as important. So, you know, you have to just utilize some different tools. You know, I've got at my disposal, I have 3 things here going on, right? I've got my 360 drive, which is pretty critical. I've got my Torpedo trolling motor, which is pretty critical, and I have a power pole for when I'm in, 0 to 8 feet of water. So, boat positioning, setting up on fish, casting angle, all that stuff is just as important. I just have to utilize a little bit different set of tools here in the kayak, but just as important. Another one on the graph too. Another 3 on the graph. A little better. That was about a 14 3/4, maybe a 14 1/2. These fish are in 20. So what happens is there's 2 shoals here, and we're actually in the vein of the shoals. So you can see there's markers on either side of me, and we went that whole way. We saw a few, but we got into this little vein right here. It actually V's in, and the graph, I saw those 2 on the graph, and there's a couple more right here under us right now. This is a little school we found right here. That was a little better. Yeah, there's a whole bunch here. Yeah, kayak stability is important, I mean, I definitely like to, oh, that one hit it, dropped it. I like to stand a lot, and be able to set the hook and play a fish, and it's a big deal for me. Got a school. That was another good one. See, that's what I mean, the derby's tomorrow. So when I find a school like this, I'm not trying to hurt them, That was another solid bite right there. They're in this V. So, I've dropped 2 waypoints. I have an understanding how it's set up. And, with the tournament being tomorrow, if I was fun fishing, there's a pretty big school right there. I would waylay them, but we don't need to do that today. So we're going to keep going. All right, so there you go. If you're watching this, we're in 22 feet of water. We're in a little V between 2 shoals right here. If you can see that little V cut, and that's all spots. That's all spotted bass right there. If I go back on my history, spot, spot, spots. There's 3 or 4 there. Spots. There's another one. Spot. There's another one. That's that one I probably reeled in. Scroll back more in my history. Spot, 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 spot. There he's loaded. What you're looking for in a tournament is a school of fish, and we found a big school of fish. So no more reason to drop here anymore. We're going to go on around this point and search for another school. That's a massive school right there. By the way, it's massive. It's gonna get out of here. That's good. That's what we wanted. And I want to continue to go around. Just want to get away from that little V, and I want to go around and see if we can get them on the other side or the end of it too here, or if it's just. I have a feeling they're all there. I mean, I saw 20 on the graph, so. But I don't, why I'm here, I don't want to leave until I fish the entire piece of structure, Power finesse fishing, huh? Falling like a rock. They can't stand it. Huh? What the hell was that? Is that a herring? Was that a shad that just died on my face? I mean, like, there's a lot of fish here because I got away from the school and had a bite there. You can always tell a good area when you're getting bites on the periphery from where the major school is at. I think a lot of times there's so many there, they you know, all want to compete. So you get some that break left and right of the main school. And I think that's what's happening here, but definitely want to look here in this other V.
So Mike, I like asking different people the same question. It's interesting to hear the different answers, but give me your top 5 kayak fishing accessories.
Top 5 kayak fishing accessories.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, first one is my electric outboard, Torpedo. And the reason I say that is because it's true, and because my boss is filming me right now. I don't want to get fired. Honestly, though, that's probably number 1. Getting around. I've said it like 12 times today. I'm going to say it again. Covering water for me is of the utmost importance. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to say my electronics, especially in events where you're fishing off the bank, right? These are your underwater eyes, right? You know, if you're fishing the bank, your eyes are important, but here it's my underwater eyes. So I'm going to say my electronics. Got to put number 3 at the power pole. You know, although I'm not doing it here this week, I really do love to fish shallow. I love to power fish shallow, you know, in 6 inches of water, you know, a foot of water. So power pole from the standpoint of slowing down, setting up, getting the right casting angle, I would say that's number 3 for me. Number 4 is some kind of storage, creative storage system. So for me, you know, I'm using an H crate. H crate's important because it mounts my rods, it holds my flambeau boxes. You can see there. So a practical storage system like that H crate, I'd have to put that at number 4. Man, let me think. Number 5. You know, I would say. Let me put number 5 at the lights, the lighting system I've been using. And you know, lights are kind of cool because it's a safety feature, but I've got interior lights mounted as well, and that's been really good for me in low light conditions, having interior white lights, and also from a safety aspect, I like those outside lights. So probably my lights would round out my 5. There you have it. Thank you very much. All right.
Tell me about your transducer that you have on the side there.
Yeah, this is a cool little mount that put together with Charles Dougherty and I put it together, and it's got an active imaging transducer or active target on there, and I'm able to lower that, and it's got a handle. I've got it mounted on a little ram mount, and I'm able to just literally turn it and look around. For active target, if you're watching and you're like, yeah, it makes sense, it's a really nice mount because it's like a flashlight is the best way to describe it. And by turning this handle, I can shine that flashlight out there and really sort of look in real time what's going on. So that's definitely a cool little system, and I think for certain scenarios, that's a pretty important tool. So this box, I use a free box a lot, which consists of a map, 2D, and side imaging. And side imaging, I really am looking 100 feet out on either side, and I'm looking for bottom composition as well as cover and structure. But here you can see that rock, that's little chunky rock that's mixed in here, and that's ideal. I like a hard bottom. Sand, if you look on the left, it's mainly sand. There's one lone rock there, but rough bottoms are definitely more conducive to fish than the sand bottoms are. There's one little fish too, right under us, small one. All right, one of the things I like to do when I'm practicing like this is I want to get a gauge on how long these fish are. So gonna wet that board there like that real quick, and then let's see, lay him down and get a good accurate measurement of this fish. And looking at this guy, he is 15 3/4. So nice healthy spot. Look how fat that thing is, but a little bit below the average of what we're going to need to win this tournament. So still a nice fish. You know, in a normal bass, big boat bass tournament, it's all about weight. But in these kayak events, it's all about length. So, you know, just like in a regular tournament where a 1/4 pound or a 1/2 pound is a big deal, a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch is a really big deal. So in practice, you know, me gauging the size of the fish and basing my game plan based around the size of those fish, that's an important thing to do. Need to find us one more good spot.
So Mike, if you were the tournament director for a kayak fishing tournament, what reservoirs or what body of water would you think would be ideal? I mean, you have any in mind that you think would be perfectly suited for kayak fishing?
You know, I like in the kayak world, I like exploring places that you can't with a big boat, right? So, you know, I know a lot of tournament organizations, they like going to the same places the big boats tournaments go to, right? There's a certain, I guess, validation when they do that. But in my opinion, you know, you have things you could do with a kayak that you can't do with a big boat. So go to those places. Upper Susquehanna River is a great example. Hobie, last few years, had an event there. There's been some other events there. I would target places that aren't normally being fished. So I would love to see a lot more of those river scenarios. I would like to see a lot of smaller lakes, you know, places that is hard to get around in a big boat. You know, that would be my vote. You know, I really like it. I can tell you, upstate New York's got a ton of finger lakes that aren't heavily pressured. There's a lot of rivers that aren't heavily pressured. That's where I'd like to see the tournaments go.
You actually see your bait dropping there?
Yeah. One followed it straight down to the bottom. But you know, when those lines are thin like that, they're them chips that I've been catching. You know, I'm playing with them. There's my bait right there, hopping up off the bottom. See it? Oh. No, he's not. He's on a regular one. See these are the kind of banks, though, you know. But they ain't the right kind of fish. Come on, be a load over here. Somewhere on this. Come on. Another small one right under the boat, like little. I think we're in a bit of a funk right now. Time period, I don't know. Got him. Oh God! That felt like a big one too.
So it'd probably be wrong to assume that tomorrow would be a carbon copy of today.
The only difference
in that that it's dropped off afternoon.
You know, the only difference tomorrow is we got that wind, you know, and I've seen that be a big factor in how they bite, how they set up.
Yeah.
You know, it's or it could be exactly the same. I mean,
how does that play into your strategy of, I mean, obviously you have a number of places where you say this is an A spot, this is a A plus spot, this is a B or C, and maybe I misjudged the C, it's really an A in the right conditions. Like how do you parse through all of that on tournament day?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I feel like I have three things going on. One is this, one is that morning herring deal, and one is the A rig on those steep banks. And I honestly feel like this is how I'm going to really catch most of them. But that early morning, man, to start out with, even if there's a couple 14 inchers in there and a couple 15s and a 16, man, what a way to start, and that's really what I'm hoping for. And then I'm just going to go through them. I'm going to go through all the very best ones first, and if there's a okay one on the way to a good one, I'll stop and hit it real quick. There's one there. I mean, I literally just fished right through that. That's crazy. Fish was an 18. And just try to keep the bait wet. If I'm seeing them, definitely tomorrow, I think I'll try to be a little more versatile with baits. If I'm seeing them and not catching them, but
I can see it from here.
Oh,
at least maybe in your history.
One followed me up right there. So I was reeling it in.
You're right.
Oh God, there's a whole bunch right under the boat. Jesus. Oh, look, two followed it down right there.
Yeah.
Oh, one's on it. Oh, I caught him and come off. This spot is loaded. Found one at the very end. How about that? It was funny. I tipped it up. I hit it. I ting ting and. Tricky. I hope they don't get like this tomorrow, man. I hope that wind helps. 'Cause this is insanely tough. That was crazy. He wouldn't hit it when it was sitting there, but I went ting ting. I went ting ting. Look at them all. Look, I make a cast and they all show up again under the boat. Oh my God. There's like 4 of them right there. Look at this drop I got on them. Never went down for it. Oh, one did.
You got 4 minutes to go, and you're still catching them.
All right, you want me to wrap this up?
If you want.
I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, like I'm proving that you're not violating the 2 p.m.
We're not. We still got a couple minutes. Listen, thanks for joining along today. It was a successful day. It wasn't great and it wasn't bad. We verified a few things. I think I ended up with 4 places that I like, that I feel like have potential. So, we've got a 2 o'clock stop today, and we've got about 3 minutes. Good way to end it, even though it's a string bean. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you had fun. And thank you for following me today and watching. Bye.